Consider this imaginary scenario. You've got a guy and a girl, and they just met. They've known each other a month. From the girl's perspective, this guy is a perfect candidate to be a beta orbiter. He is the greatest validator ever. He tells her all the things she wants to hear. Of course you're right and they're wrong. No, it's not your fault. You never do anything wrong. You're so smart. Why can't other people be as smart as you? She loves his validation. But she's inwardly and kind of secretly disgusted by him because he's 600 pounds. And so one day he builds up his nerve and he says, I love you. I have secret feelings for you. I can't stand to be without you. I think we would be great together. I promise I'll make you happier than anybody in the whole world. And she says, ew, no. And he says, why? And let's say she has a brief flash of brutal honesty and says, because you're so fat. And he says, what? That's not fair. This is because stuff I've done in the past. Yeah, maybe in the past 5 years, I ate 5,000 calories per day, but you're judging me on stuff I did before we even met. That's not fair. Or how about this other situation? Let's say you have a woman and a man. They've been together for a year. They're madly in love, and they're starting to plan their wedding together. And they're super happy, they're super excited. But during the planning of their wedding, the woman finds out that the man has $150,000 of gambling debt, and he hasn't paid the IRS in the past 5 years, and the IRS is taking half of his paycheck every week. And she breaks up with him. And he says, what are you talking about? All that gambling I did before we even met. You're judging me on stuff I did before we met. That's not fair. Or how about this scenario? Same situation, guy and a girl. The guy loves the girl. She thinks he's a great orbiter. And this guy is super intelligent, but he's also super lazy. And let's say 3 or 4 years ago, he got a full ride scholarship at MIT for some kind of STEM PhD program, guaranteed to catapult him into 6 figures, being some kind of super genius scientist. But he's so lazy, he decided to give up, and now he works as the night manager at Taco Bell. And he says, I love you. I think we could be together forever. I'll make you the happiest woman in the world. And she says, ew, you work at Taco Bell. I can't be married to a guy who works at Taco Bell, especially the night manager. Come on, dude. And he says, that's not fair. I work at Taco Bell because of decisions I made before we even met. You're judging me on stuff I did before we even met. That's not fair. Okay, how about this one more example? Suppose you're the leader of a band. You're the singer in a rock band, and you need a guitarist. But you're a very young, up-and-coming rock band. You realize it's going to take a year or two of garage playing and playing small shows. And so you're not in any hurry. You just want to find somebody that's going to stay with the band for the whole upward trajectory of your career, hopefully your hopefully successful career. And so you have 2 people to choose from. The first person is someone who's only been playing the guitar for a month. And this is their very first instrument. And they say, I love the guitar. As soon as I picked it up, I'm getting all F's in school because I don't study, because as soon as I wake up, all I want to do is learn guitar. I love the guitar. It's all I think about. I have dreams about playing the guitar. But I've only played for a month, so I'm not that great of a player. But I'd love to grow with the band. I'd love to learn with you guys. I'd love to learn to play along with you guys and be a good member of the band. And their second choice is someone who also only has 1 month of experience playing the guitar. And they say, or they ask this person, have you played any other instruments? And they say, oh yeah, I played a whole lot of other instruments. I played the piano, but I gave up after a month. I played the trombone, but I gave up after a month. I played the harmonica, but I gave up after a month. I played the cymbals, but I gave up after a month. I played the triangle, but I gave up after a month. I played the canastas, and I gave up after a month. I played the whatever they're called, and I gave up after a month. And this person has a whole history of 1 month of this instrument, 1 month of this instrument, 1 month of this instrument. And they're like, but I promise I'll play the guitar forever with you guys. Now, which of these 2 people would you hire? Nobody would hire this person. Everybody would love to hire this person because they love the guitar. They're like a ground floor opportunity, and they're going to grow with the band. Whenever somebody says that what they did in the past has no impact on now, that is absolute nonsense, because who we are today is the sum total of the things we've done in the past. It's impossible to separate the two. Our state of being is always a work in progress. We are always right now the sum total of the things we've done in the past. So if somebody tries to tell you that body count doesn't matter, that is absolutely ridiculous. That is physiologically impossible. That is psychologically impossible. One of the most repeatable laws in psychology and persuasion is the law of commitment and consistency. In Cialdini's book, he talked about this interesting doomsday cult, this religious doomsday cult. And they believed the world was going to end next Tuesday or whatever. And so they told all their friends, hey, the world's getting next Tuesday. You better sell your stuff. Join our cult. And all of the members of this cult, they quit their jobs. They sold their stuff. They gave their money to the cult because they truly believed that the world was going to end next Tuesday. And they told everybody. They tried to convince everybody. I mean, if you really believed the world was going to end, you would try to save as many people as you could. And so that's what they believed. But then the world didn't end. Now, it would seem like if the world didn't end when they predicted, that would make them look like idiots and feel like idiots, and they would go back and try to get their jobs back, and oh God, I feel like an idiot. But actually the opposite happened. They doubled down on their commitment to the cult. Now, this is a very, very subtle, but very, very critical point in the argument of does body count matter or not? Because they made such a big commitment, this operates on the deep subconscious level. So because they made such a public commitment to this cult, this was impossible to break, and this commitment shaped everything they saw from then on. So even when it was proven that they were wrong, that was irrelevant. The commitment to this cult, because of the law of commitment and consistency, was so strong on a subconscious level, nothing else mattered. Now, what does this mean, commitment and consistency? Here's another example. In England a few years back, they did a study on adults over 30 who were overweight and lost a significant amount of weight. Only 1% or 2% kept the weight off for more than a year. Because the older we get, the more we stick to our habits. And if you're overweight, that means you've spent an entire life overeating and not exercising. And even if you go through a very short period to lose the weight, it's going to be hard to leave all that behind, because that is part of who you are. That is part of your subconscious feeling about yourself and about food. And that's hard to just stop, that you can't do that, which is why most of these people gain the weight back. Commitment and consistency is the most repeatable law of psychology and persuasion. The older we get, the more we stick to our habits. We stick to brand names. We go to the same restaurants. We eat the same food. And the older we get, the harder it is to change our habits. So someone that has a history of high body count is not going to suddenly stop. This is almost impossible. And it's in the stock market, if you're investing in the stock market, past performance absolutely does not guarantee future success. But when it comes to human behavior, if you want to predict somebody's future behavior, understanding their past behavior is almost guaranteed to be a very accurate predictor of what they'll do. How we behaved in the past is going to very, very accurately predict how we behave in the future. And if your go-to strategy for the past however long you've been active socially and romantically and sexually, if your go-to strategy whenever your relationship gets difficult or you get bored is to ditch it and get a new one, that's going to always be your strategy. You're not going to have any skills of dealing with deep relationship issues. You won't have developed any deep communication issues. You won't be very proactive. If you view relationships as something that's supposed to be entertaining and enjoyable and give you good feelings, and as soon as the good feeling stops, you bail and go with somebody else, that's going to be your relationship strategy moving forward. So absolutely, body count matters. It absolutely matters. It's impossible for it to not matter. So what do you do with this information? Well, luckily, you don't really need to know somebody's body count. You just need to watch their behavior, because their behavior will not change. You might want to ask a little bit about their past relationships. And how they talk about their past relationships is essentially a good predictor of how they will live their future relationships. If they've cheated on their partners before, they're going to cheat on you. If they talk bad about their exes, they're going to talk bad about you. If they broke up and they blame the other person, that means every time they have a problem in your relationship, your potential relationship, they're going to blame you. So you don't really need to know their body count, because their body count will drive their current behavior. And so when you are looking for relationship partners, just sort for their behavior, date them a few times, ask them about their past relationship experience, get them talking about their exes, and their behavior will tell you everything you need to know about whether or not they are a good relationship candidate. Now, some people will very much argue that body count is absolutely not important, and they get angry when you ask about it. But the fact that they're getting angry that you're asking about it is an indication that on some level they realize it. They realize, or they kind of admit to themselves subconsciously, that there's something that's kind of wrong with this, and they don't want to take responsibility. If they really thought that it didn't matter, they would be completely forthcoming with their body count. They would completely, oh yeah, I have a huge body count. I love that. I love sex. I love going, and that's fine. You say, okay, well, we're incompatible and go on. But if you ask about their body count and they get upset, or if anybody gets upset, it's kind of an indication that on some level they realize there's something wrong with that, and they don't want to have to be responsible for that, which is a massive red flag. So yes, body count absolutely matters, but this is just one variable in a huge world of complex variables when it comes to relationships. And as I'm sure you know, modern relationships are massively complex, massively much more complicated than they were before. But if you want to learn more about how to build a successful relationship with a qualified person, check out the links below. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.